Hello, everyone. I am delighted to be talking to Geraint John again. So, for those of you who didn't listen to our first conversation, Geraint's beautiful wife, Debs, died mid-September, age 43. And they have three children together, 14, 12, and 8. And in our last conversation, we talked about her dying because she hadn't died, and how you were going to talk to your children. Following our conversation, she did die, as I said. And so I go to my kind of first question. After acknowledging how grateful I am for you joining me, and because our first conversation was so important and had a big influence on thousands of people. But Geraint, now 3 months since Debs died, what is the greatest challenge for you and your family, I guess?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I think we're kind of at a stage now where it's been 3 or 4 months since she's passed, and we're just adjusting, I think, to life without her. So there hasn't been that much time really that's passed, and I think we're still in a stage where whether or not we've accepted it, I don't know, but we're coming to terms with life, the planet without her, and day-to-day life without her, because there's just so many memories, so much kind of just so many things going on in our heads that it's just very, very difficult to process, I think.
Yes, I mean, I think that is a sort of description of grief, isn't it? That you can only kind of really let yourself know the reality of it at moments at a time, because it's so overwhelming and so huge that you get kind of pulsated with the day-to-day, with memories, and it's hard to kind of take on the enormity of what you're facing. Could I, if it's not too pushy, ask you to go back and tell me the kind of the piece that happened in between our conversation, where we talked about you being in denial and not telling the children that she was dying, and that, I think, was about 6 weeks before she died. What happened between then and her death?
Yeah, so I remember it well. We recorded it, and she was in hospital. She was very poorly with sepsis, and we were all rallying around her. And somehow she managed to, which is quite typical of Debs, she managed to beat the sepsis, even though she had, pancreatic cancer. And I don't think she was.
Gosh.
No, so she beat it, and there she was. So she got out of hospital, and it was like one sepsis. I put something on my Instagram, Debs 1, sepsis 0, and it was like a victory lap bringing her back. Yeah. So we got her back, and it was still, the battle, and we're gonna beat this. And then I think deep down,
but you knew underneath,
yeah.
Even when you talked to me, you knew you weren't going to beat it.
No.
So there's like living. I mean, I think what's valuable for listeners who want to know about this for their future or in this experience now, it's very possible to live in two, it's the word universe, two mindsets at the same time. One is, on the one hand, knowing that she's going to die, and equally, and on the other side, was believing that she was going to survive.
Yeah.
You kind of held both.
Well, I think it's I do think about this quite a lot, and I think it was probably, from my point of view, the last thing that I wanted was for her to feel in any way upset or traumatized or in any way depressed, because that wasn't in her nature at all. So by, rightly or wrongly, by keeping up this kind of positive, it's going to be okay outlook, it just meant that, she was more in her final period. because I had researched it and I knew it was not looking good. So what I didn't want to happen was that for her, for whatever time that she had left at that time was, that she was upset or more upset in any way that she needed to be. So, and rightly or wrongly, because there's pros and cons, of course, of this strategy, because then perhaps you don't talk about stuff that I'm here now, running the household as a single dad, and there's stuff that I wish that I would have probably asked her. But then if I balance it, I think, and if I could look back, if I could go back and do it again, I'd probably do the same. I do think about it quite a lot, though.
And so what you came down on the side of was you wanted her to suffer the least and protect her the most. And that it looks like as difficult and as complicated as that was the best decision you could make at the time, and actually you would make it again.
I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's right. But
there's a cost in that for you, isn't
well, there is a cost to me, but I think again, on balance, I think I'd do it again. Because I'm still here. I've got the. We've had some amazing experiences since she's passed, but which we'll chat about in a bit. But and I'm just, to be honest with you, just really glad to be here.
To be alive. Has her death led you to value your own life and the life of people you love that much more?
Totally. It's changed my perspective on things massively, in the sense that my outlook is totally different now, because I value stuff a lot more, perhaps, and I just don't let so far things get on top of me as much, perhaps, as I did work-related stuff. And I think I can't help but think I just feel sorry for Debs that she had to go through all this.
Yeah.
And what keeps me up at night is just the worry that she must have had that I didn't know, because we're just going through this hell together, and just how she must have been so scared. And I just feel really sorry for her. And obviously, I'll talk to you about kind of what happened in between our last recording and her passing, because that was it was quite a traumatic couple of months, I guess. But it's just these kind of thoughts that kind of stay with you, and probably always will, really. But she beat the back to what I was saying earlier. She beat the sepsis. We got back, and it was the summer, and I think me and my son went away for a week, and that was great. So this was like, I look back at it now, and it's like, oh wow, that was a final month, August, and
gosh.
And she only had I known that she only had 6 weeks left when anyway. You can't.
Would you have done something differently if you'd known?
I don't. No, not really. I don't think I would have. So
That's important, isn't it? Not to have regret.
Yeah, I don't regret anything, really. I think on reflection, did the best really that I could. I think hopefully I supported her in the best possible way, and she felt loved and supported, and and that was my mission, really. But so in August, life was going on as normal. We actually went away to a lovely place called Sandwich on the south coast, which we like. Really lovely little place, and we're quite fond of it around there. And she had these bad pains in her stomach constantly, and she was in a lot of pain. And I was just thinking,
that's so awful.
Oh no! And we were thinking it's something to do with because she had the pancreas removed, and she had all these horrific kind of things as a result of that, which she never complained about, bless her. And she's on the bed in a lot of pain, and this is it's these things that so we went to the beach, and she couldn't get out of the car, and she was just sat, in the sun. Probably the last time she sat in the sun. And, I probably realised then that, I could work out it was something bad because she was in a lot of pain. So we went back to London, and then it was the usual walk or Uber down to A&E, got her checked in. And I remember this because you would remember it much more. I remember it really blow by blow.
Vividly.
Yeah, vividly.
Yeah.
We were in A&E, we're sat there, and, she's in a lot of pain. And of course, when you get checked into A&E, because she wasn't on chemo anymore, you have to wait, because if you're on chemo, you get whisked through. But if you're not on chemo, it's not a higher priority. So she was we were there for 7 hours. There's all this chaos.
Oh no!
Chaos going around us, kind of just drunks and fights, and it was quite Shakespearean, actually. Just this scene of hell.
The sort of underbelly of the world lives in A&E, doesn't it?
Yeah, this kind of hell, and we're looking at each other. And I think she still, she, bless her, didn't perhaps, it's quite patronising actually, bless her, but she'd hate it if she heard me say that. I think she probably was still being, this is just, we've done this plenty of times, I'm going to go in and I'm going to, I'm going to absolutely, destroy this again. And she got sent up, and then she was in hospital for another week. And it wasn't looking good. The nurses said to me that, she's very, very poorly. And then she got moved to her own room. And of course, looking back now, I know what was happening. They were separating her. And of course, then she started, to deteriorate a little bit, and her skin colour started to change, of course, which is the nature of, So when
you're dying, that your organs and the systems in your body begin to slow down, don't they, and not operate
so that was happening, and it was quite upsetting.
So painful.
It was very upsetting for her. And then she
and you.
Yeah, well, obviously for me,
wasn't it painful for you?
I was hellish, just kind of seeing her, like that. And then the palliative team started to come in, and I knew what was happening then. And then I had to chat to them and ask some very direct questions. How long? And they said, a couple of weeks max. So all of a sudden we'd gone from, beating sepsis to being in Sandwich, to being in A&E in that horrible scene, to it's like the end of the road, and you can see the sign. So it's like, right, so am I processing it? Probably not, because I'm in overdrive, because I've got the children at home. I'm still working as well, and at that point I just put my out of office on, and then it was persuading her to go into the hospice. We were saying, can you go down and check it out, like it's a hotel? So I'll go down. So I drove down. Had to look around, That's a very poignant memory, isn't it? It's like her being her, like. Yeah. It's very touching. So I drove all the way down, to St. Christopher's, which is obviously fantastic, and had a look around. And was I thinking that I was, but I just wanted her to be comfortable, because the hospital was hell that she was in. She's in this room. I was having to kind of, shower her every morning and all of that, and it was quite a bit much, for her and me, I think, at that point. But we did it. We got through it, and we, that was the main job, was to get her, the shower every morning, and get her, So anyway, eventually. Is that? Can I pause you a second? Yeah, is that shower in the morning a bit like that Admiral, like make your bed every day? That if you do this one task, it kind of sets you up for the day, in the sense that I'm still alive, I've had a shower, I'm clean, I'm ready to face the day. It was like a sort of a centre point that was counter to her deteriorating health and the sort of bedlam that you were in, being in hospital. Yeah. And at this point, I mean, totally, that was really important to her. Much respect to Debs, she's quite remarkable, really. And there's another little kind of anecdote I was at home and I had a phone call. You've got to come down now. You've got to come down now. She said, "You've got it. I've got to
So
get out of
frightening.
here." She said, "I've got to get out of
Oh,
here.
her.
You've got to help me. You've got to." So I came down, and she was in a wheelchair at this point. She couldn't walk, and she was just outside the bit in the corridor. And I went and she grabbed my hand and she said, "If I don't walk outside now, I'm never going to get out of here. I have to be able to walk." So anyway, so we tried to walk her
So
out.
intense.
So, and she just one step, and she was, she got it.
Her
made it to
willpower,
courage.
her determination. Gosh.
Honestly, I was just, what on earth is going on? I've been told that she's got 2 weeks left to live, which I obviously can't tell her this, yet. And now here she is, on a different mission, which is just so, and it's really important to me that I say this because for whoever's listening, if my children listen in the future when they're older or whatever, or they read back on stuff like this, then they know what a hero she was. So she's walking down the corridor, and of course she had to give up and sit down. And I said, "Should I just go get the wheelchair again?" And put her back, and then she fell asleep for a couple of hours. But bless her, in her head, she was.
It's heartbreaking, though, isn't it? It's heartbreaking. She so wanted to live and be alive and walk.
And I think, and much respect to her, really. And that I'll often say this: there's like one of you, and there's a billion of the rest of us. There's only one of you. You're quite remarkable in lots of ways that I couldn't possibly summarise now. So,
but it's like you're talking to her as if she's alive in you.
Yeah, I think so. So the kind of what happened after that was she got out of the horrible ward, which was good, and I reported back to duty that St Christopher's was indeed suitable for her to go to, and I'd signed it off. Suitable as a garden, and then we got to St Christopher, and it was a different world then in St Christopher. She was sat by this big window overlooking kind of South London and Kent. She was sat in this beautiful chair. She had this really nice big smile on her face. She obviously looked poorly, and the people who were working St Christopher's were just so friendly and loving, and she really enjoyed their company and the chats, and her mum and me. She
felt safe.
She felt really safe, and I think she still thought she was going to get out of there. To be honest with you, it was still because she said, "But this, so will I be able to go home after this?" And they're going, "Yeah, potentially, potentially." So she's ringing her dad, "Dad, can you get a stair gate and a stair lift installed in the house?" So I thought that was amazing as well. Fair play. So she's still battling on. She's still not giving up. Life's still there, and it's still there for the taking. She's going to get better. And so I'm going back and forwards every day. There's a lovely cafe there. So we'd take her down to the cafe, and we'd have chats, and the kids would come every day, and they were so brave, so brave. That they were seeing her in, looking quite poorly.
So had you talked to them by this point? Had you told them that she had 2 weeks to live or 10 days to live at this point?
I think at this point, I had the conversation with them whereby I said that Mum's going to die. Yeah, I had the conversation that she's not gonna make it, and Mum's gonna die. And she's.
How was that? What did you say? Yeah. Did you do it on your own, or did you have a family member with you?
No, I did it on my own, and I had notes, I think, from a conversation that I'd had, and I'd written the notes down, and I just followed it really methodically, one by one. And essentially, it was like a summary of the situation, and it was clear to me that there had to be no misinterpretation from my words. So it had to be very, very direct and very, very clear, with no room for any manoeuvre, because of course children always look for, but what if, but surely there must be something you can do, and no, she's going to die. And that was obviously the worst kind of 20 minutes of my life, you know.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, it was all, and it's in this room actually that I'm in now.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you wipe the tears away, and then it's like,
and their tears and their shock.
yeah. So we were crying, and I hadn't really thought about this actually. And we then went back into support mum mode, which the three of them did so well, just so well. And we would go to the hospice, and you know, she was deteriorating, but still determined. And we even had a Zoom call the Monday before she died with the surgeon in Germany, and she's trying to get me to get a private jet to take her to Germany. And I was going, I don't think you're going to make it on the plane. You know, she's going, she thought about it, and we had a Zoom call, both of us, with this doctor. She just couldn't make it up, really. She's still, at this point, fighting. Yeah, and that's
fighting.
Exactly, and that's the kind of message that for anyone listening to this, it's the fight, and you know, this that fight that in life, which I think is really important that she had, and you know, to never give up. Anyway, and that was our little mantra. Anyway, and so at that point, you know, she's deteriorating, and you know, we had to have the conversation about, you know, really difficult conversation about the funeral and what she wanted, which was all.
So while she was fighting, you managed somehow to have a conversation that if she died, what would she want for her funeral?
Yeah, so we had to, her mum, who was absolutely brilliant, and me, who were going through this hell together. I think we're both probably just quite traumatised now, I think, after what we've been through together. So we had the conversation, listed what we kind of needed to ask, you know, and I won't say what it was, but I had to go back to the room and then ask her. I thought, I'm just going to treat this like a business conversation where I'm deadpan. And I said, look, I'm just taking all emotion out of this now. I said, I'm just going to ask you some questions. I don't want you to say anything. I just want you to just tell me what you want. And then we just went through them. And then she then, I think at that point, she accepted. It was at that point. It was not until any second in time before I had that conversation. And then she said something like, oh, well, that's that then, is it? Which is typical of her little sarcastic, you know, she could be quite sarcastic sometimes, which was very funny. So that's that then, is it? Which is, well, you know, I don't know what to say, you know. But we're just preparing, and I needed to be right. And at that, and then I think I went, and I came back, and she was, the next day, she was in, at that point, she gave up. And then she stopped.
Gosh.
The morning after she was gone, she was just unable to talk or anything.
Unconscious.
Yeah. And that was it then.
So are you connecting the conversation that you had with her and her saying about the funeral and her saying, well, that's it then, with a sort of slightly kick in her, like, you've given up on me, or that there's no fight left.
Yeah.
And her dying.
Yeah. 100%. So that was it. There's no doubt in my mind that at that point she'd had, which makes me, if I couldn't respect her even more, I have more respect for her, thinking, wow, so you must have spent all of this time where all the rest of us were kind of, you know, and you were so strong that you made it right up until the very end, and you
the end,
and she managed to. It's like she's at the edge of the cliff, and people are trying to push her over, and she's battling everyone off. She's batting everyone off. No way, I'm going down there. And then at the last point, you know, that she kind of, so madness really, and then of course the really tricky bit was that, you know, so I'm gone. It's the last day, and you know, this is just.
What does that mean? Can you say what that was like?
Well,
being gone.
Which I think at this point, I'd been really strong and positive, like I was on the last podcast, positive
Yeah.
Geraint, which perhaps gives it a bit more context now, that I've explained how it happened. And then, of course, I'm seeing her in, obviously she's
Terribly, incredibly ill, and looks really ill. I
yeah,
mean, when someone's dying, they
yeah,
look like they're dying, don't they? They do not.
yeah,
It's a very painful thing to witness.
yeah. So it was really upsetting. So I'm playing really lovely music for her, and and it's just, this is just the woman that I loved, or I love, and she's reaching the end at a ridiculously premature time, and there's stuff that I wanted to say to her, and all of that jazz. And then I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to go and get the kids. So I ran to the school. It's quite typical of us. This had to be really dramatic, didn't it? So I'm driving as fast as I can.
Like a bat out of hell. Yeah.
Ringing the school. You've got to go and get sort of the junior school. Just make sure she's by the gate. Just make sure she's by the gate. So just drag her in. What's happening? I'll tell you now. And then, of course, my 12-year-old has just started high school. Bless her. Can you imagine? Just started high school, and I have to go and get her and her brother, and they knew. They just walked to the car, and we were in silence. And then I had to do another big speech in the garden of the St. Christopher's, where I just said, "Look, guys, Mum's going to die today, and we're going to go up now, and we're going to say goodbye."
Gosh.
And we all need to be strong, and you're all brilliant, and you're all amazing, and we can do it together as a team, but we have to go up now. And then, of course, we went up, and we were saying goodbye, and she just she passed away while we were all there, all the kids. And
Oh my goodness.
yeah, so she waited, we're convinced, really, until they were there. So she got a bit upset, and that was it. Gosh, so. Yeah, so that was the end of that, and we just stayed with her for a bit, and then what do you do, It's like, well, and we just decided after about an hour of just hysterical kind of crying that we were going to go back, and that was that. Then we went back here, and she wasn't here, and that was the strangest thing. She wasn't here. And then that night I said, well, what do you want to do? I said, should we just go out for a burger? So, because there's a burger restaurant that we all used to like. So we just walked down, sat in silence, kind of eating this burger really slowly.
In shock.
Miserably. And then, so that was the story. I thought it was quite dramatic, and it could only have been that way, really, with us and her. It was like a film. And she went kicking and screaming, basically.
And also the poignancy of your memory is she went kicking and screaming, and she held on until all of you were in the room with her, and that was her last act of love, in not finally letting go. Okay, it was dramatic in true John fashion. But once all four of you were in the room with her, she kind of felt, I guess, what do you think, at peace enough, or
I think,
to surrender, to let herself.
Yeah, she needed to go, and I just said, some nice words to her, and we let her know what she meant to us, and she could hear. I know she could hear, but she just, her body had given up. So. And then you kind of...
I can't hear you.
And I think it just stopped then, Julia. So I'm just going to...
It did. So if you can just repeat that last little bit again. I don't know why.
So it's... So after we returned home, then we're in overdrive because we're planning the funeral. So anyone listening to this who's been in a similar situation, and I guess lots of us have, if it's a parent and So we decided that she was going to go out with her in style. Well, I did anyway. So we booked a big house in Dulwich, where we used to like going, and so booked the whole house. And there was, when we got married, there was a string quartet playing Beatles songs, because we like the Beatles. Who doesn't like the Beatles? And so there was a string quartet playing the same songs. There was like really good food. My mate, who's a cheesemonger, brought some cheese. And it was just a bit of a kind of, and lots of people came, and it was quite a sunny day. So that was nice. And obviously before that, the funeral as well, which was quite something. So many people came to this her funeral, like from, I guess, just from all parts of our history. And my job was to console the kids, who were obviously very, very upset. So we got nice white cars to take her down, white vintage Rolls Royces. No, there was something like that, vintage something. And so she arrived really nicely. And then obviously the kids were just
beside themselves.
Yeah, so I'm comforting them. And obviously I've got hundreds of people looking at me, like, just devastated for me, and I'm having to do it again now. So remember I said the showman.
Putting on a performance. You're the showman. You're making everyone feel comfortable.
So I was aware of it. I was like, I know this is really awful, so I'm going to keep my shit together now, and I'm going to be strong for everyone. So I'm holding the kids. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. And, it's not going to be all right, but, I'm just trying to make them feel loved and happy. And then we go into the funeral, and it was beautiful. Lots of people spoke. I spoke last. I did this. When John Lennon got inducted to the Hall of Fame, Paul McCartney wrote him a letter, "Dear John," and I thought, that's quite a good way of doing it, actually. So I just wrote her a letter, "Dear Deb," and it was, what she meant to me from start to finish, and and thanking her.
I'm moving.
And then it was really nice. And then that's when the showman went. And then I just collapsed after my speech, and because we had I chose the most depressing, like Stevie Wonder. She's a Rainbow by the Rolling Stones, which is what we walked down the aisle to, which I don't know, that was a good idea because that set everyone off. And then did you record it? Did you record the funeral? Yeah, it's not. Well, I think it's
a good thing to have done.
Yeah, I think so. And then the final song was "Into My Arms" by Nick Cave, which is beautiful.
Oh my goodness, yes, I love that song.
And that was our first dance. So it's all related to the wedding, which I thought was good because it kind of.
It's love. It's about your love.
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm aware of as you're speaking is all of these. If emotions are colours, like the kind of rainbow of colours, from the devastation of her actually dying in the room together with all of you in there at the hospice, to the kind of numb, kind of automatic, robotic experience of going to get a hamburger, not speaking, and then getting into overdrive to organise a funeral, getting into performance mode to kind of conduct everybody, and that there's so much happening all at the same time, but at the heart of it is your love for Deb and the love that your children had for her, and how you are wanting to honour that, celebrate that, and also in ways let yourself feel the pain of her loss. And that is a lot to kind of hold.
Yeah, it is. And I think the period after that has been a very different period, whereby I'm not like that at all, because I think it took a lot out of me.
You must have been exhausted. I mean, grief is physically exhausting. But
so I lost a lot of weight because I just wasn't hungry, so didn't really want to eat. And I love cooking, but I was always cooking for Debs, that was always our thing. and suddenly I'm cooking for myself, and it's not the same appeal's not really there. So I was skipping. So my strategy was to drink Huel, the drink with all the. So starting to lose weight. So I'm starting to look like Keith Richards, which is good because I've always had a bit of a chubby appearance. So all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, this is quite good.
So not good though, and it isn't.
No, I know. So and obviously my role then has been since then has just been for the kids, to make sure that they're, I guess, in this period of the worst period of we could ever go through, really, where she's not here, is to make my thing is I want to make the house full of love. So all I do is it's just it's a house full of love. There's no shouting, there's no stress, and I just say, like, literally last night Sarah and my daughter came down and she couldn't sleep. It was like midnight or something, and she's upset. She thinks I'm going to be angry, because that's what a parent, I said, I told you it's no problem. You just do if you can't sleep, you can't sleep. So it's no problem. Don't get stressed. There's nothing to be stressed about. If you're tired in the morning, and then that was, oh, right, okay. So obviously they take advantage of me massively now, but in a funny way. So it's been a really difficult period, and I think this could be a whole nother podcast, I think.
Well, it's the day-to-day grind of grief, isn't it? In some ways what you've been describing is the events that lead to the kind of peak devastating moment, but it comes with it is adrenaline and performance and drama in some ways. I mean, I don't mean to make it take away from the very real distress and loss, but then the grind of missing her every day is a completely different process for all of them. And you've got 3 children of different ages, 2 daughters and a son, and obviously you're a man. So everyone's the reality of the loss and the level of the pain is the same for everyone, but how they express it, how they feel it, what they need is very unique and individual. And so between the 4 of you, there's a lot going on in the kitchen or at night.
Well, there's a lot going on, yeah. And, you're right. So after she passed, a week later, it was Emmett's birthday. So I hosted a birthday party for her, I thought I just got to get on with this. I've got to do the birthday party. So it was just birthday and Pete.
That is your mantra, get on with it, isn't it?
Yeah, so we got on with it. The parents came and they're looking at me going, I can't believe you're doing this. And I was going, well, what choice have I got? I have to do it as a birthday. So we did that, and actually went quite well. Some quite funny moments where the pizzas arrived an hour late, and I could just feel Deb just going, why on earth did you not order them before? Why didn't you just buy some pizzas? So she was still present. So
is she talking to you all the time, saying, "Come on, Geraint, pull your finger out"?
Or or and if I do something well, I'm like a little kid, If I do something I think is good, I expect the praise. Oh, well done, Geraint, you did really well there.
You're channeling her. When you do well, you channel her, and when you do badly, it's just you.
Yeah. So we've had 3 birthdays in 6 weeks. So we had the 3 birthdays. We had a week the day
Christmas.
The day after the funeral was our wedding anniversary. We couldn't make it up, really.
Oh my God!
It's our wedding anniversary. I think is this just something that's there's something, I'm being tested here, aren't I? I really am. So then in October, I just took them away to Greece for a week, which was the best decision ever. So we went to a place called the Pelagoni Club in Zante, which is amazing, really geared up for kids. Lots of water sports. So there were smiles then for a week, which was good.
Oh, had tears for the weeks before.
Yeah,
so many
and we had
tears.
fun, and we and then obviously there was quite poignant moments expecting her to walk down in her holiday dress. I got really upset a lot, actually, just visualising her, because it was so close, to it was less than a month since she'd passed, and we were in Zante, still imagining her there, and and
It's your first holiday without her. It's the presence of absence, isn't it? Her putting on her lovely summer kit and bikini and
yeah, and
oh,
and also feeling a bit guilty because we would have she'd have loved to have gone to Zante,
yeah.
and for whatever reason, life just took over, and we never did because we were just so preoccupied with half terms, and we weren't at that stage yet. I don't think in our lovely journey where we would have the holidays in October or Christmas, so that I felt guilty about that she didn't get to, and that upsets me a little bit that she didn't see the things that I wanted to, that sounds really patronising, that she wanted to see, because our life had been so preoccupied with work and bringing up the children that we hadn't got to that stage yet. So I thought, well, I'm gonna, keep.
Can I pause you? Because I think one of the things that often gets missed in grief is that you're grieving for your own personal loss, but also you grieve for the future that the person you loved should have had, expected to have, had every right to have, which is particularly intense if it's a death out of time, if it's a young woman. So you're grieving multiple losses. You're grieving seeing the loss in your children's faces and their experiences. You're grieving your own, but also you're grieving Debs. Like, she should have been there and she would have loved it. And so there's a guilt, but also there's a kind of real experience of that's impossible to describe of loss. And you can call it injustice or unfairness, but it's more than that, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel this daily, and I feel guilty that she doesn't, get to do the things that she enjoyed doing anymore, So, but I kind of made my pact with myself, and that's what I said in the funeral, and that's what I said when I went to see her, afterwards, was that I was going to do all the things that we were meant to do. That was, and I won't let you down. And all the things that you wanted to do, I'm going to do with the kids. So that's kind of where we're at now, in between the kind of, it's Monday morning now, and I just can't be asked, with anything. I'm just, she's been gone 4 months. And I know the children can't be asked because they're all at home at the moment. They didn't go to school today. And I just can't be asked. I just think, well, I'm just going to and I've never been like this in my life, and it'll pass like all things, but I'll just listen to an album, or, might just meet mates for lunch pretty much every day, and just,
So is the can't be asked, it sounds like there's a combination of things going. One is kind of low mood and grief, like you feel low.
Yeah.
The other is nothing really matters. Now that Debs has gone, nothing matters as much. In the small way, like, don't sweat the small stuff. Like, everyone's alive, so what the hell? It doesn't really matter.
Got it, yeah.
And the other is a kind of flatness of, you haven't quite naturally, in 4 months in, you're used to having access to a lot of energy and hope and positivity of going forward, and at the moment you're all flatlining.
Yeah.
And that is what grief feels like.
Yeah, so I didn't really see this bit coming, but you're right. I'm able to put stuff into perspective a little bit more. So perhaps previously, and I guess anyone listening to this can relate to it, whereby work is everything, and that's all I cared about, and I'd stress about, things quite a lot, which was probably really annoying for Deb, but being the hero that she was, she supported me throughout it all and made sure that I got through it. And then now I'm like, well, what was all that about? So it's Monday, and I'm thinking, well, it doesn't really matter, does it? If I don't really want to, do do what I used to do today. I'll just chill out and just hang out with the kids for a bit, because this is just a phase and we'll get through it, and let's just all chill out, and I'll probably make them a fish finger sandwich in a bit. So.
I guess it's kind of getting to know a different version of yourself, isn't it? Which is, it sounds like you're not fighting it, which is good. And it sounds like you're allowing yourself to be as you are, which is also helpful. Do you know what is supporting you? For people listening who are going through something similar, can you kind of name 2 or 3 things that support you to both manage enough to function as a dad and get the fish fingers in the fridge, work enough that you kind of bring home enough money to pay the bills, and also be changed by it so that you know what really matters?
So, sorry, let's just do that again. I'm not sure what you mean by that.
I think
people
are there things that have helped, are there things what's helping you at the moment get up every day? Is it, before you talked about you took exercise,
right, yeah,
friends and family, is it the same things?
Okay, yeah, I've got it. Okay, yeah, so everything's changed massively now, so I'm not really exercising as much, which was always my thing, which is interesting, really. But I just can't be bothered really at the moment. So, but I think that's really important that I do that, get backed up. But at this stage, that's not really a priority. I think friends are particularly supportive, which is helpful. I've got a really good close network of friends close by, and that's really good. So like that's extremely helpful. And the kids have got really good friends as well, which is extremely helpful as well. So they're constantly occupied and entertained and have stuff to look forward to, which is really helpful, because whilst we can't be arsed days, as we call them, but they still see their friends, have sleepovers. My thing is that is what's getting me through is stuff to look forward to. So we tend to do stuff on the weekends. So on Saturday, like I took the youngest to Kidzania in Westfield, which was actually hell, but she enjoyed it, and that was that all day.
Yeah.
And we went ice skating the Saturday before that. We went to Antigua over New Year's, Christmas for 10 days, which we've never done. So that was like some
amazing.
Yeah, we had experiences when we went to so this is what's getting me through. I didn't realise this, but when you asked it, I now know what's getting me through. So we did a helicopter tour of Antigua, and then I was thinking about Debs, like, this is for you. We're doing this, because I remembered what I said, all the things that you wanted to do. So we did that. We went snorkeling in the tropical waters and saw all the tropical fish in the reefs. And me and my middle daughter did that. And I remember that was a bit of a moment, us looking at each other. I was thinking, this is good. Well done, Geraint. Come on, praise me, Debbie. This is a praise moment.
So if I kind of point it to one thing, the 2 things that really enable you to keep going is the love and connection to others. That makes an enormous difference.
Yes.
But also living with experiences with Debs in mind, both as their mum and as the love of your life, in that kind of missing her, but also living and doing the things that you think she would encourage.
Yeah, definitely. So then that helps me make sense of the day and the world then. So I'm thinking, all right, well, I'm not going to get as stressed as I did, because that's a total waste of time, because I could literally get run over by a bus tomorrow. And that is a high, I've seen it with my own eyes. I understand life and death much more than I did now, because I've actually been through it from diagnosis to the end, and I was there through the entire process. So I understand this now, and I understand that life is really important, and it's important that I, make the most of it. So therefore, I am going to have a Can't Be Arsed today, and I am going to go and do all these nice things, and that's what puts a smile on my face. And then the strategy is that I do that enough for long enough that the grief has kind of passed to a point that it's, not as raw as it perhaps is now, So anyway, rightly or
I think
wrongly.
that's a wonderful. I don't think it's a rightly or wrongly. I think that's a wonderful point to end the conversation. Like this is a lifelong process in many ways. You're in this particular phase now, and it does sound like you are getting enough support and doing enough things that support you to enable you to adjust, and that it's changed you and it's changing you. It's changing all of you. You're not fighting it. And you know that the intensity of the loss that you feel will also change over time. And you now can't not know that people die. And that is there's a growth in that, is that you have to live the best life you can live if you really do know that you're going to die.
Well, totally. And I think like the final thing that I will say was I felt that we were invincible, or I was invincible. She was, it's not going to happen. A bit naive. It's not going to happen to us. It's fine, I actually believed that, No, that's not going to happen. And then, of course, I've now realised that, yep, it could happen. So, yeah, live your best life.
Thank you so much, Geraint. I really appreciate you giving me your very precious time.
No problem.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
So I'll stop this, and I'll stop this recording.